Hi, everyone. This is the Perspective with Viv podcast. My name is Viv, and this is the show. Today's title is The Body as a Guide with Darlene van der Grift. Darlene van der Grift is a medical intuitive, cosmic mediator, medium, and author. Darlene has over 35 years in assisting people searching for answers, needing clarity, and finding their purpose for what was, what is, and what can be in areas of health, relationships, spirituality, career, past lives, and mediumship. Hi, Darlene. Thank you for joining me on the
Hi.
show. Hello, hello. So
Hello.
let's dive into the questions.
Sure.
How how did your spiritual journey begin? You've walked so many fascinating paths: massage therapy, intuitive healing, mediumship. Which came first, and how did one modality lead to the next?
I would say the interest, I've always had an interest in how humans ticked from the time I was little. My mother was very ill all the time, and so I was wondering what that was about. And I love biology and knowing more about that. And then when my mom went through a health crisis, which took her about 3 years to get through, they told her she had 6 months to live. And when she got through that health crisis, she became a healer. And she had to be you needed a license in some way or a certificate. So she became a licensed massage therapist. And the interesting story was I was making $4 an hour. She was making 15 or $20 an hour. And it sounded like a good business deal to me. So I became, I became a massage therapist and fell in love with the human body.
Wow.
And I found my avenue, my niche that I really enjoyed, and then took classes from there. So because she knew kinesiology from her chiropractor that actually saved her,
Wow.
I learned kinesiology, and then I learned around the muscle testing, and then I went into being more around herbs and diving deeper into past lives and what blocks us and how does our psyche work. And it just was an advance. I think we don't ever stop learning for certain people.
Definitely. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That's such a beautiful flow and alignment of steps to lead you to where you are. So, quick question before the second question that I have for you. What is kinesiology? Can you explain?
Yeah, so it's muscle testing. So it's applied kinesiology in insurance companies. They work with kinesiologies to just test, say you had an accident. What is the range of motion that you can do with your arm and your leg? But applied kinesiology is it's hooked up to our central nervous system. So each of our muscles are hooked up. So there is a position that you put them in, and you can get a yes and no answer. And
Mm,
that was like my gift of, wow, this is like I can ask anything in my body, my subconscious, my innate wisdom knows it, even if we think
wow.
we don't know it. Yes.
Yes, yes. There was a particular period in time when I was on my wellness journey and I got introduced to a particular method. I can't remember, but it's that kind of it's had an exercise in which you put your hand like this or either like this, and if someone hits it, that was a yes or a no. Do you mind giving me some examples of what is common in terms of like techniques and methods? Because I love this.
Yeah. So there's like you can self-test, right? So if
Mm,
you take your finger, your pinky and your thumb together, and then take these two fingers up between it, right? And so that's a yes if I'm pulling apart, and a no breaks. That's a yes, that's a no.
mm,
Okay.
okay.
And then you have this one. So if you push down on your index finger, that's a yes. I'm pushing really hard, and that's a no.
Okay,
So
no is
yes,
easier.
yeah, no will go down. So if you're testing something, whether it's food or anything else, yes, I can have this right now. My body wants this. And oops, nope, better not have it right now.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing. Oh my
You're
goodness. I
welcome.
love, and this is why the title of the episode is The Body as a Guide. I like your connection with the body from what you've explained with your journey. And I also think it's very beautiful that you're able to start that journey with your mother because there's a certain level of closeness that you develop when your gifts are harnessed from a young age and you just develop and evolve that into your personhood, into your identity and your path, you know? Do you agree?
Yes, it is. Yes. We had a business together for many years.
Wow.
Yeah. And when
Beautiful.
she passed, there was an interesting thing. When she passed, I was right there when she passed, and she took her last breath, and I could feel all the walls that she had around me and protecting me. It was like I was in the desert somewhere. It was like a
Oh, wow.
sci-fi movie. And I was both relieved in a way because she had a struggle in her last 10 years, well, last 3 years of her life was more of a struggle. She was declining, but I was relieved that she was, on her way. And at the same time, like I didn't know who I was. I mean, like
Hmm.
those walls that I didn't even know were there kept me kept me safe in many ways. But it was also now it's my turn. Like now I own my life in a much bigger way. And what do I want to do with it?
Yes, thank you for sharing that with me. Okay, my next question. Although
Sure.
I think we'll come back to your path again because I do love all the things that you did, the herbs. I've always been inquisitive around herbs, so I'd really love for us to talk about that a little bit if we have enough time. But this is also an interesting thing that I found out about you. You describe yourself as a timeline architect. Can you briefly tell us what that means and how you discovered this role?
So there's two ways to work on timelines. Timelines can be past lives, right? So you can go back to a past life, and I'm very visual. So if somebody asks me, is there, or in the session, it'll come up, yeah, you have a past life. You were a male, your mother was a female, whatever that is, and the story behind it. So past lives, you can work with several things to disengage them or heal them or integrate them. But a timeline architect is when a big past life comes in that's affecting your present lifetime big. Like
Hmm.
you see the pattern, and it's not just this one thing that you need to say, I'm sorry, please forgive me for. It's more stretched out. And how that works, how that works is you find what the past life was. You see where the discrepancies are, or I would have done that different, or I could have done that different. You change it, right? So visually, we work together to change it, to make it into something else. Then what happens in my world is it gets cut off. Like it's like, okay, done. Like you can't do
Hmm.
anything more. And the reason why it gets integrated into your present life. So it takes time. And that's where you start to watch, is there synchronicities in my life that have to do with that lifetime? Did somebody just show up that maybe it was that person that I didn't know that it was back then? Because it weaves it together. Then you get the green light. Oh, now we can work on this timeline again because things have moved. So we go back to that timeline. Oh, there's a whole other section that happened. Do you want to keep that or not? Nope, I want to change that. And it goes back and forth till you reach the end of it, which means that that timeline is now integrated into your timeline. So it's healed. You can make different and better choices. And a lot of times it affects the DNA.
Hmm. Wow. So, how would you suggest that people do this? Or is it possible for somebody to do this without a practitioner? Is it possible for them to do meditations? What's a simple practice to begin this? Because I know about past lives, I'm very interested in it. I wanted to ask you if you knew Dr. Brian Wyeth, which I feel like you would.
Doctor, who is it again?
Brian Wyeth.
Oh, yes, Brian Weiss. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
so I've read his books, and
Yeah.
that was my introduction to past lives on a theoretical level with case studies, which was so interesting. My point
Yes.
is the awareness of past lives being a tool that you can use to heal cycles, patterns, habits, pain is something that I'm aware of. But now that you've explained it in the way of timeline architecture for the average listener, how would you suggest they begin such a step?
First, two things. One, you need to believe in past lives or they won't show up because you
Okay.
have to match it, right? We're our own creators of our lifetime. So,
Oh.
to bring it forward, you have to believe in it. Two is to start meditation with the intention. I have this pattern. It takes an awareness to say I have this pattern. Maybe you're attracted to the same kind of man or woman, and you've been through 3 relationships, and you're like, I'm done with this, right? And so it tracks through this lifetime. So I would say go into meditation and ask. If you believe that you have guides, if you believe that you have more than what you know that you know, go into meditation and ask, I want to be shown in some way, where does this, is there a past life about this? Is there something that I can resonate with? Then you watch. You watch which book shows up. You know, you watch what people say things to you, your dream state, your meditation state. It's not, for me, meditation is about connection. It's not about just getting silent and so you can feel your body more. It's more about, okay, I'm here, I'm present. I need to ask my guidance system a question and watch what comes in, because you're developing a relationship and a communication.
I think that's a beautiful answer. Thank you for explaining that. I also feel as though that is such a beautiful gift and a concept that we can heal ourselves by going back in time. I also like the entire concept of past lives because, come on, who doesn't love the fact that they've lived different lives? They've gained different skills. They're different people. I'll share a past life with you that was very interesting that came up during a particular healing session that I had. I don't even know how we found ourselves in a past life because it wasn't a past life regression, it was just a healing. But they said that I was a man in this life, in that particular life. I was leading like a group of settlers
Uh-huh.
through like the Egyptian lands or maybe a desert or something. So I was leading like a large, group of people to find different lands to camp in. Now I use the stars to know where we're going, which tracks because I'm an astrologer. So I loved that. And I must tell you, astrology, I remembered it in this life. Like I learned normally, but it was so like this, just like tarot reading.
Yep.
So that was the thing. So they said yes, I used the stars to track. I communicated with the stars. The stars spoke to me fine. They said I was so focused on my goal that I didn't look inside my camp for an enemy. There was an enemy there that ended up killing me. So the lesson from that passage that they said was look at things from a wider perspective. Funny
Uh-huh.
enough, look at look at things in detail as well. But you did say widening your perspective, there's more than you think. And it just sort of like tracked because a lot of times you find yourself looking outside for kind of like deceptive energies, but really inside, it's always what is not what you think, but it does happen a lot of times. That's how who got stabbed? Was it not Caesar in his back? Or was it
Right.
Brutus? Right? Okay, by
Yeah.
Brutus, right? Exactly. So yeah, that's one of my past lives.
An interesting one. I have, I'm being involved. I'm going to Egypt because I'm
Ooh.
being called to do that. Because that was
Mm.
one of my significant past lives that are still
Oh,
in the process of being time tracked.
were you a
Yeah.
priestess in a past life?
I was an initiate in the Isis
Whoa.
and Horus temples. Yeah.
Really?
And oh, and then we got attacked. Yes. And it's a very long story, but I'm getting called back to address it.
Wow. Not to make this about me, it's just that I resonate with that. I've never been to Egypt. It's always been something that showed up, right?
Uh-huh.
And um the card, the Knight of Wands, has the pyramids in the background. So it shows up a lot for me a lot. And I always think, okay, yes, I have a link to Egypt. I have a link to Egypt. It's fine. Then I think I had a past life, or it was a past life class that I was in, where I was a priestess in Egypt. And they were searching for this book of knowledge that I had. And I don't know what happened afterwards, but he ended violently, I would say that. So I resonate
Yeah.
with your story, with your past life.
Yeah. And see, that's what you can do. You can change that. If that's a significant lifetime for you in this lifetime, then you can start to move into changing it, making different choices so that it gets woven into this one, so that your path is more solid in this one of where do you want to go? Who are you? Are you a leader? Do you want to be that leader again that you had with the stars in some way, in a different way, but still take on the leadership role? Like it weaves it into present day, both knowledge and what do you want to do with it?
Definitely. I totally agree, honestly. So I'm wishing you a great trip in Egypt. And there's nothing more beautiful than healing a past life and, integrating it into your present life. I can't wait to hear how that goes. Evolution is such a beautiful thing. Now, my
It
next
is.
question: can we use our bodies to shift timelines?
Tell me what you mean by using the bodies to shift it. Do you mean like through a practice?
I think more of what embodiment would look like when you want to shift timelines. What would your feelings be? How would you feel? How can you use your body as a vehicle, the container, to shift
Well,
timelines? Yeah?
yes. So if people are familiar with lucid dreaming, I would start
Yeah?
with that. If you're familiar with, so you know that you're dreaming, but you're
Hmm.
on the edge of being awake. So you're really not totally deep into sleep, right? So it's that edge.
Yes.
Start to change things there. So say somebody's after you in the dream. So it's kind of that place that you feel like you're running, but you know you're in a dream. You know you're in a lucid dream. That's the universe giving you information for some reason, right? So yes, it may be something about your present day or something that you just went through. It also could be a past life. So if you're in that lucid dreaming, you change it. So you embody, oh, I don't have to be running. I can turn around and I can face this person. And now, if I face this person, do I really want to hurt them? Do I really want to do that? Or do I want to do something different? Do I want to ask, why are you chasing me? And see what comes in. And so you're really present in the timeline. It's not out here somewhere. It's in your physical, it's in your energy field, right? It's in your energy field of how you're interpreting. What is your perception of when you change something? What are you feeling? Is your heart stop racing when you turn around, or do you become more afraid? And what is it? The idea is you stay in it.
Mm.
You don't wake up and go, wow, that was horrible. No, it's there for a reason. It's there for a
Yes.
reason. You have to be curious enough
Hmm.
to ask questions and find out why it was there, and watch that day. If it's a lucid dream, what's coming? What do you remember about it? Write it down. See, what I tell people is, see if it's significant. Like, some dreams are like, oh God, that was like, you know I could forget that in 2 seconds. And other dreams stick with you. The lucid dream may stick with you. Then you watch what shows up during the day. That could be clues, that could be information about that dream.
Thank you for sharing that. Let's talk more about the body's intelligence. You said that the body has its own intelligence. How do we start tuning into that, especially when we're overwhelmed or disconnected?
So the body can develop, well, it does have a mind of its own, and we're
Mm.
very linked, unless unless we've had extreme abuse, long time abuse, right? Whether that's mental, physical, or emotional. If we've had lots of accidents, or if we've been, not just accidents, like surgeries, anything that's invasive to the body starts to not trust us.
Wow.
It doesn't trust the decisions that the body says that we've made. Well, we elected to go into surgery for, facial surgery, or our appendix had to be taken out, or whatever's going on, right? So I tell people, are you familiar with Ho'oponopono?
Yes. Is it the Hawaiian saying?
Yes. And it was made for, it was in definitely made for karma, but I use
Mm.
it in so many ways. Like, I'll tell people, do a journal if you've had any of these issues in your life. Do a journal with your body at that age. Age 3, I had my tonsils out. Age 6, I had abuse. Age 10, I lost a toe. Like, whatever it is that is physical, not just emotional, physical. You talk to your body at that ages, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry
Mm.
that you had to have the surgery. I'm sorry that that must have really hurt to have your tonsils out, because our body needs to be acknowledged. It is very resilient, but it's just like a relationship. You have to say, you have to know that it went through something that maybe you thought that it didn't matter,
Mm.
you know?
Wow. Thank you so much for
And then
that.
then what happens is when you do that, you have a different relationship. So because I find with people that might have that in their life, abuse specifically, is that the body separates, has a mind of its own, can even start punishing because it has a voice, but it doesn't speak, right? So you become more allergic or sensitive to things, um, sensitive to foods. You can gain weight. You can, it just wreaks havoc with the body trying to tell us that it's not happy. And so going back and at least having the conversation with it to bring it into alignment, that you see it, you hear it, you understand it, you're sorry, you love it. It moves the energy so that you have more choice of bonding together, and the choices that you make for your body.
Thank you for sharing that. That's very insightful, honestly. I think that's why being able to forgive yourself is important so that you can release any pain that is coming through. That's one. Two, I love the realization that the body has a mind of its own and a voice of its own and its own intelligence. Because in with my relationship with my body, I've felt that through fitness, there's this remembrance of, oh my gosh, my body has always been this super container. That's how I've always referred to it when I was growing up, because I felt like I get wounded, I get hurt, but I bounce back. My body bounces back. You know what I'm saying? Like, uh, yes. So I just, it was kind of like a remembrance. And then I realized, oh my gosh, my body speaks to me when I'm exercising. My body speaks to me when I'm moving. And what's funny is that I've had dreams that said, dance, move, move. And I just don't as much. I don't do that. But when I finally found that outlet for my body to speak, it's speaking, it's
Yeah.
making itself heard. And I think that's a beautiful concept, because when we start to see our body as its own consciousness, we start to make space for it to be heard even more. We start to humanize it in a way. We start to
Yes.
see it for what it is and then connect deeper, thus allowing our souls to express itself to its fullest capacity, because there's synergy with its physical
Yeah.
container.
And just saying, you know, if you've had a stomach ache and it went away, thank you. Thank you
Hmm.
for going away. Thank you for healing me. Thank you. You just, it doesn't have to be with everything, but when you honor the body, you have a different way of being.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you for giving me the insight to see my body this way. It can change a lot. And I hope that listeners can also feel the same way as well. Now, the next question I have for you is, what are signs that our body is trying to speak to us and we're just not listening? I can say that I know that it shows up in sickness,
Yes.
addiction.
Stress is a big one. So
Oh,
sickness, disease, sickness is all like third or fourth stage, right?
oh,
Before it moves into disease. So what I would tell people is if something happened to you, right? If it's long term or short term, you take a look at, can you process it? Can you let the feelings come up, talk to somebody, go into therapy, do something where the emotions can come up so that your body, mind feel like they've been heard and seen? That usually de-stresses. You need to know what your body wants to de-stress. Like with you, movement, right? So if you're under stress, just put some loud music on or soft music, whatever feels like, oh, this is, or sit down and cry with music or whatever your body wants to do. It's going to de-stress you. So knowing what your body does, not eating doesn't usually de-stress the body. It masks
mm,
what the body
wow.
wants, especially sugars or alcohol or any of those addictions, right? They just numb you. They don't allow the expression to come up.
Mm,
So what happens in the body is if you don't handle that first stage, then it moves into more of the subconscious. So you have dreams about it. Maybe not the specific dream, but your body's trying to tell you somebody's chasing you, or you're angry about this, or you become a lion, or whatever that is. It's that thing that you didn't handle emotionally now comes in through dreams.
Wow.
right? Or you attract people that have the same kind of issue. So it's trying to tell you it's not going away, right? It's right here.
Mm.
Then you
Wow.
might get more things where digestion is a big one. If we can't stomach something that we just experienced, then the digestion is usually that. So that's gallbladder or stomach issues or constipation or, any of the things that go on in our body around digesting things because it's stress related. When you don't handle it that way, then it goes into disease
Hmm. So we have
because
different
that way we
avenues to
get
save
attention.
ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And its last final thing is, okay, well, I am such in distress from the accumulation of you not handling things that have come in that are
Hmm.
stressing me.
Wow.
I'm going to speak louder and you'll get something that you may not like.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing. Wow, this is so, so insightful. Thank you. Okay, the next one. What do you think alignment feels like in the body?
Alignment,
Yes.
it feels empowering,
Mm.
centered, knowing, like you're not questioning, you know who you are, you know your darkness and your light. You know yourself enough that if somebody brings up something to you that says, you've done this, this, and this, you're strong enough and aligned enough to own it. You don't defend it. You don't make up excuses. You own it. You own your integrity. I think that's what alignment is really owning your integrity. You walk your walk, you walk your talk, you talk your walk.
Thank you for that. How do you think our body assists us in channeling or receiving intuitive messages?
First, you need to be open to it. You're going to go
Mm.
through anybody that I think channels or because intuition, I wish it was taught in school, um, that it's something that's valuable, but we doubt it.
Mm.
When I first started channeling over 35 years ago, I doubted it. I mean, there's still times that I'll go, I don't like that information. I'm not doing I'm not saying that, and then I find out like a month or so later that it was accurate, but I was like, no, I'm not. Um, so I think it's again, back to the alignment, right? Like you open yourself up, you allow, and automatic writing is a way to do it, letting an energy come in. There's difference now that I think has been maybe 40 plus years ago, it changed. Like channeling used to be letting the letting the full being of whatever's coming in, a consciousness, a being, a collective, whatever that is, to come in and you speak from from them. So you step way back and that energy comes in. I think it's much different these days with people that channel. I know that it is for me. I asked after channeling for 5 years that I didn't particularly care for
Mm.
stepping back here and feeling an energy come.
Yeah.
And so I asked if I could be a mediator. And my guidance was, yes, you could be a mediator. So there was a several year training about that, but it's better for me than what I experienced for my first 5 years. But I think there's a different way now. I don't think it's about total, it's not trans channeling as much as it used to
No,
be.
it's not. Yes. I think, well, that's why they talk about the clairs. I think it's through the senses that people now receive intuitive messages and they just lean more into what's more dominant. And I think now what I do like is that being able to be a mediator is better than letting a consciousness step in, because you still want to be conscious, you still want to feel like you're in that level of control. And I'm sure back in the day when people first started channeling, it felt like that, because there's so many books that I even have that the authors wrote it down, but the channeled being came through as the one writing the book, which was
Yes,
very interesting. So I really love the entire concept of channeling, because there's so many ways to channel, and it's just
there is.
interesting. Yeah.
And if you
Yes.
trust your intuition, that's another way. It's like there's sometimes it's invasive for people. I think that they get their ego involved in that
Mm,
channeling, or they get their ego involved in their intuition, and they open up their intuition, and maybe they have an agenda that they don't even know about. So they see
yeah.
something about somebody, and then I have to tell you that it's about this for you. And if they're
Mm,
not invited, it's too much about
yeah,
them
it
wanting
is
to.
intrusive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like how with this entire way of being, there are ethics, there's consent, there's the way of doing things. And I love how when you start the journey and as you get deeper into it, you naturally start to know these things. For example,
Right.
when I first started doing tarot reading, eventually I started to understand that you don't just approach people and say, "Can I do a tarot reading for you?" or "This is what I saw for you. Let me tell you more." And I have had people go into my DMs with those messages. You learn that, can I read for you? It's something that you're open to. You find the ethical ways of approaching people, but also the ethical ways of seeing things, but knowing not to keep it to yourself because some
Yes.
people can put it off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And sometimes it's meant for you just to see it, to have affirmation about something and assurance, but it doesn't need to go to the other person,
it's so
you know?
true. Yeah, yeah. I always felt like I had this thing of seeing so much in people and then feel, I felt like I didn't want to go up to them to tell them, but in times where it's a shadow that is also impacting me, I'm like, oh my goodness, you don't know what I could tell you that I've seen about you. It would be like I'm weaponizing it. And I'm like, thank God
Yeah.
I'm ethical, because if not, I don't know
No.
what would have happened, honestly. Yes. We're going to talk about relationships and personal power. You said that our partners can be our ultimate healers. How do we know when we've drawn someone in for healing versus out of a wound?
As far as a past life, as far as a heal, I think they're all, is that what you mean, as far as a past life, or just people that come into our life?
Just people that come into our lives, but you can expand it to past lives as well for Leah.
Okay. Yeah. So the subconscious has a way of finding people eventually that will be our healers in some way if we open ourselves up like that. But we usually have to identify where we are the most wounded that person brings up, right? So our subconscious connects us to people like, oh God, that looks like, I just met this person and I think I've known him for, all my life or before, right? And so we get connected through the subconscious. And the why of that is our subconscious looks for friends and family and partners in some way to reflect where our woundedness is, right? So it looks like deep love and affection. And I think it works for people, that stays that way for good reason, most likely. Um, but then there's most of the time that you go through a power struggle. So it brings it up for you. Do they bring up your anger in you? Do they, you feel like you get disappointed all the time? It's men and women, are they aggressive? Are they too aggressive? And you may not find that out till you're with them for a year or two or three. Now you're in it. What are they reflecting back to you? What is it that you don't like about them that might be something about you? Do they match a parent personality or a teacher personality or a sibling personality that's in the past, this past, right? That, oh, now you're trying to work it through. It's another way to change timelines, but it's all about this lifetime timeline so that you become a better human.
I'm going to be vulnerable here and express how my subconscious has changed in choosing people. So when my subconscious, healing is very cyclical. It's not linear. So as you heal, you realize there's still more. There's still more. So it's a journey. So I must say that this was like after like a decade of healing, but it was around my Saturn return, so it felt like a checkpoint. This is where your shadows amplified show up in people. How do you handle it? what do you do? So for the entire duration of that, I like to I like to think of it as a mission or
Hmm.
journey. For the entire duration, I perpetuated patterns that are usually perpetuated around those particular characters that I'd seen in this person in the past. So it was the same storyline. But eventually
Yep.
reached a point where I said, you know what? The reason why I'm, replaying the cycle this way is because the whole point or the root of this is that I've never been comfortable enough to show who I truly am for fear of rejection, for fear of abandonment. At the core of it, I love who I am on my own. I can stay on my own. So this fear of rejection and abandonment is an illusion because as my higher self, I'm very much an independent person. So it's not coinciding with who I am. This is who I used to be. This is how I
Yes.
used to think. So let's say goodbye to this person. Bye. And so everything that connected to that version of me left. Every person connected to that version of me left. Now enter this version of Viv. Never met her before, by the way. So it's like I'm getting to know myself on a new level, getting to see myself, let's say, more aligned, because that's why I asked that question. I feel more aligned. What does that mean? In love, you know, my partner is the reflection of healed me. Like this is my
Yep.
subconscious healed version. This is somebody that is grounded, grew up in love, is family oriented, thus bringing up family wounds that I need to heal, but in a soft way, not in a hard way. And
Hmm.
other things. What am I trying to say? I love the fact that when we become aware of our subconscious and our wounding, we can then use that awareness to create better decisions and thus attract better people into our lives. And looking at the people in our lives and who they are and how they are, we should take that as a reflection of who we are as well, because they are a reflection of us. That's why they're there. So it's like a mirror. It's like a test. It's like a puzzle piece for people to know and realize where they are in their lives.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what everybody is. If we accept that we created our life in the misery, in the darkness, and in the lightness, right? And we are all aiming to be better humans, to be better souls, to be better anything, then everything that comes to us, we're creating. Why do we create that? Why does the anger come at me for, you know, decades? Like if somebody feels like, oh my God, people are so angry with me. Looking at where are you angry and you're not identifying it?
Hmm.
Or did you grow up with a lot of anger around you that
Yes.
you avoid it? Because you probably have it somewhere, but back to the body, where does the anger want to come up? About what that originated it, right? The scare of being angry, whatever. Yes, we have everything in our life is a reflection. It's how you perceive it without being a victim. Own it. Yes, I can be
I
that
love
way.
that. Yeah. I still love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, honestly. Now, have there been some insightful cases in which you witnessed past life lovers return to each other to complete their soul contract?
Yes,
Where did you
they do.
laugh?
Because I'm thinking about my Egyptian timeline. Um,
Nice.
that, yes, I'll just pull on that one. So, in that timeline that we talked about previously, I was involved with a teacher in the Horus, a priest, temple teacher in the Horus community, which ended up being very abusive.
So nice.
And I got out of that, and those were the people that actually attacked the Isis temple. And so I got out of that. We got out of that as a group, but many people were killed.
Hmm.
I meet that same person in this lifetime. Didn't know that lifetime. Didn't know it. And I remember seeing a picture of him before I really met him. And I remember circling his face with my fingers saying, I can't believe you're back.
Oh my God.
And I was with him for 10 years. And it wasn't until after I was no longer with him that the past life, that I knew that I had a past life, but I didn't know who was in it. And when it started to be revealed, it matched my experience with this person in this lifetime. So I did it differently in this lifetime. I left him. I left
Wow.
him instead of what he did back then. And there's much more to the story that I'm still working out, not with him, but
Mm.
being in leadership of what happened in
Mm.
that lifetime of
Oh
claiming
wow.
my leadership, which I gave away to be with him.
Oh.
So claiming my leadership again in this
Oh
lifetime, and
wow.
whatever that means. I think that's part of me
Wow.
going to Egypt. Yeah.
That's such a beautiful, beautiful trip. Like that adds even more weight to what you shared earlier about how important this trip is. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's very, very wow, wow. Very empowering as well because yes, you did choose differently and now you're claiming what was lost in that life to kind of make up for it, to correct things in time because life, past lives are also parallel lives. So as you're just operating in this present life, your past life is right next to you, like saying
Yeah.
thank you so much. Oh my goodness, wow, that was
And
so
then there's future
profound.
lives, Viv. Then there's
Mm,
future lives, right?
oh my goodness.
So, yeah. And they they come in to be integrated. They come in both lifetimes because there's no such thing as time, right? We just put
Yeah,
them on there.
wow.
So if everything's happening at the same time, you have parts of yourself that have been what we consider past. You have parts of yourself that are in the future. And I believe that they all have not just woundedness that may need to be healed and integrated, but they have gifts.
Yes.
They have gifts
Mm-hmm.
to offer us that
Mm-hmm.
maybe we were a shaman in another lifetime. We don't have to be a shaman here, but maybe we have interest in herbs, or maybe we take care of animals differently because we love animals. But it's the concept of you bringing that energy into this lifetime. You're owning it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Moving back to herbs, how do you use herbs in your practice?
When they show up for people, when I'm doing a body scan, I'll go through all the organs in the body and give them percentages. And some people deal with homeopathic better because their body adjusts to that. Some people can't it doesn't do a thing for them. Others need Chinese herbs, others need American herbs, others need, it's like and it will show up. Like I'll go through the list in my head and I'll go, okay, yeah, you need milk thistle for your liver. You need dandelion, not milk thistle, dandelion. It's like it'll go through. That's why people bring their medication or when we talk, they'll bring their medication, all the supplements, herbs that they're on, and we see what the body wants. Because a lot of people, they'll see something online and they'll go, oh, yeah, I think I'll do that. Oh, yeah, I think I'll do that. And they end up with 6 different things that
Mm.
may not be compatible to their body. Or they think they need to take, somebody tells them that they need to take 6 of something, but it's not long term, but they might take it long term and then they get a reaction. So it's really about listening to the body and what herbs are needed. And, it's a whole study. It's a whole study of talking to the herbs and even plant medicine as far as psychedelics and what they're using today in that avenue is, I work with quite a few people that use that for PTSD, and it's
Mm.
amazing what it does.
Wow. Wow.
It helps heal. They get a different perspective, and most of them move into something more spiritual.
Beautiful. How would you recommend somebody goes about beginning their journey with herbs?
Well, there's two kinds for me. Like there's medicine herbs that help the liver, the gallbladder, the colon, whatever. Um, I would pretty much study it or go to a naturopath or somebody that knows what they're talking about. And if they know kinesiology, because I trust kinesiology, where if the person says, wow, you're really sick, you need 6 of these a day, and kinesiology says 1 because we need to trust that 1 will work, and then maybe in 2
Hmm.
weeks you can do 2. It's like that. The body guides you without bombarding the body with something that it may not want. So I would suggest that studying, doing that. If they're talking about plant medicine because they want to deal with an experience that feels like it moves, you definitely need a therapist. I wouldn't do it on your own unless you're doing
Hmm.
microdosing.
Hmm. Okay. Thank you for that. What's your favorite herb?
God, there's so many of them. A lot of people are using ashwagandha now because of the adrenals being
Mm.
so depleted with stress.
Yeah, it helps the nervous
So
system.
two things: support the adrenals, find out with, and maybe it's B's too, B, C, D, you know.
Mm.
Yeah, those B, C, D are used to build the adrenals, and ashwagandha is used to build the adrenals. There's
Mm.
glandulars that you can use that have adrenal protomorphogens in it that you can use that way. It's all about what the body wants, not what you
Wow.
think that the body wants.
Hmm. Very interesting. Okay. That's so insightful. I want to begin my herbology journey. Honestly, it runs in the family. So I'm just
Oh,
like,
there you
yes.
go.
So I just need to start. I've been told so many times, and it's just something I've stalled. I had an Akashic reading maybe like 3 weeks ago, and one of the visions that came up was the fact that I'm like a wizard with like herbs and a cauldron that I'm supposed to mix things and spell jars and all of that. I was like, what? That is who I truly am.
Yes,
I just
yes.
need to
And you have to
start.
be that on somewhat, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Come on, Viv. Okay, I'll try. Okay, so
No,
let's move
no
to creative.
trying, do. You have to do
Okay,
it.
I will do. I will do. In fact, I'll try and do something this week to start and keep to it. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now, talking about your creative expression and books, can you share more about the themes and subjects of your books?
So there's a series of them. The first one is called Earthbound, the Genesis of the Great Experiment, which is about my main character is who I was, and it's the first being that I channeled, and he's
Hmm.
reptilian.
Ooh.
So it's his journey through ancient timelines, meeting some of my past lives through him,
Oh, wow.
being guided by, she's called the Blue Crystal, which is, she holds the Akashic records on Earth. And so it's going through, it's lots of spiritual lessons, and it's like a journey, it's like a epic journey through many timelines. And we go from Tibet, we go to Myanmar, we go to Antarctica, we go to Egypt, of course. You know, we do the whole gamut. South America, I think he's in. Meet Quetzalcoatl. We go to Summer, the Sumerian culture. So there's a lot of these places that is integrating and weaving lessons to become more human, because that's what he wants to be.
Wow.
He wants to
Wow.
become more of who he knows he can be. And the woundedness and the trauma, that he has gone through, and the things that he suffered as a what did he call it? An offspring, because they're not children.
Hmm.
So his growing up and his meeting and all of that comes into play, so that the reader can read it as a really interesting series,
Yeah,
of, wow, this is an exciting story,
it
or they can
is.
read it and for their own growth.
So it's both. It's kind of like relaying spiritual messages through this story. And that's
Yes,
beautiful because reptilians are known for not being positive. They're known for being like shadow, let's say like the darkest shadow of our system. So
yes.
in having that premise of the reptilian wants to grow and evolve to be the best human is such a beautiful storyline. Bringing in past lives and moving through all of that to heal different aspects and learn different lessons. Oh my goodness, you had me at the first sentence.
Yeah, and he's a very sensitive, empathic, curious. Um,
Oh, I love
it's a,
that. That adds to
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Beautiful. Oh my goodness. I'm going to check it out. Thank you. I love when
Book.
writers write books that have spiritual meaning and is an avenue for healing, but it's put in through such an interesting storyline. It's kind of like why The Alchemist is one of my favorite books. And no, it's actually my
Yeah.
favorite book of
Right.
all time, just because of my first introduction to stories like that. I've never read a story like that before. So it was just a beautiful avenue of teaching through story, through fiction. And now I write, so that's the way I write. Yeah. It's just, and it's like kismet. It's like exactly who I am as a person. Oh my goodness. So yeah. Okay. As an artist, what are the sources of inspiration for your paintings?
I wait for the inspiration to hit me, and then it goes, oh, I need to paint that.
Oh, I
So
love
it'll
that.
usually come in at night because that's where I get a lot of my downloads. Like they'll wake me up anytime. It used to be like 3 to 5 o'clock, but now it's anytime. And so it'll come in like the paintings that I have of the Council of 28, which were with me, I think 5, 7 years. And then they moved into the Evolves about 3 years ago. As I evolve, they evolve. So they tell me their stories. Like the Council of 28 is the series of the books. And when
Mm,
the books got mostly written 3 years ago, they said, now we are the evolves because we told you what we were like. Now we want to show you that we are light beings. So it's like they're going back to their past to give me their information. And now
wow.
they are the light beings, right? That are called the evolves. So that the paintings, when I first brought them out into the public, was probably 8 years ago, I guess. And I painted one big painting with all their faces on it and the Merkaba in the middle and
Oh,
Earth and all that.
nice. I love
And
that.
I was ready to present them like in September. And they were like, oh no, we want each a separate painting. So I
What?
did. I did 28 separate,
Wow.
12 by 12 paintings. They weren't huge, but that's what I would carry around with me for those years. It's like I would
Wow.
go and do a lecture and I would bring them and people related to them. And they started to feel them in their meditations, like, oh, Sari showed up in my meditation, or blue crystal showed up, or the Andromedan showed up, or whatever that was. So they would relate to them. Even today, they'll say, oh, so and so showed up in my meditation today. So
Wow. That's impressive. So, what's your favorite thing to paint, though?
I've learned how to not be colorblind.
Are
When I
you?
started painting was age 12,
Okay.
and I
Oh,
had an
wow.
I had an art teacher for a very short period of time, and I was copying a ship, like a huge sailing ship on an ocean, and I painted everything green, but it was really blue, but I thought it was
Oh.
green. So they found out that I'm a bit colorblind in certain areas. So color is really important to me. So what I favorite, I think striking colors, nature has always been an interesting thing to paint. Um, I'm not really limited. I did a series of, I think, 12 or 15 paintings of different different places of women, like a child looking, into a mirror and seeing her mother and father arguing behind her. That was one painting. Or, a cave woman being chased by a snake, or it's like whatever feels like. I can't tell you that there's anything specific that I love painting. It has to capture me and then I do it.
I understand that. Thank you for sharing. My last question for you, Darlene. What's one truth your soul always returns to? Your guiding principle.
I have several. There is
Ooh.
no right or wrong,
Okay.
good or bad. And my biggest one is you know more than you know. Because
Wow.
I believe that as far as the body knowing more, the body knows everything, not our brain. Our body knows everything. And, that's why hypnosis a lot of times works for people because you
Yeah.
bypass the brain and you go deeper into the truth of something. So you know more than you know. It's based on my experience with kinesiology and just allowing the person to open up and see that they're much more than they even believe themselves to be. Because we limit ourselves. We limit ourselves because of our culture, how we were raised, our belief systems, our religions, all of that.
Thank you so much for that answer, honestly. For me, I would say that what I do like is the fact that you said that we know more than we know. The truth is, there's so many things that we don't know that we know. And
Hmm.
it's nice when we have that avenue to tap into it to realize that we do. And I guess that's why having a strong connection to your intuition is important because then all those little things come up in the crevices of your subconscious and then they enter your conscious mind. And you're like, oh, wow, if I wasn't in this particular space, if I wasn't receptive, I wouldn't know this. But now I do. And then you find yourself 10 steps ahead and you can just use it to navigate through life in such a beautiful way. That's how I'm doing it anyway.
No,
And
it's a
so
great
far,
way
so
to do
good.
it. Yep,
Yeah,
so far
right?
so good. We each find our way as long as we don't close things down, you know?
Yeah,
Keep
so
your
true.
curiosity and your options going and keep looking deeper into who you are and what needs to be cleared.
Yes, so true. Thank you. Listeners, what a journey, right? Darlene just gave a masterclass on listening to the whispers of the body, shaping our timelines with intention, and letting love, real healing love, guide us deeper into alignment. If today's conversation stirred something in you, you're not alone. That's the body remembering. That's the soul nudging. To explore more of Darlene's work, her books, her art, and her incredible sessions, head over to soulunion.com. That's where the deeper layers live. As always, thank you for listening. Stay curious, stay embodied, and keep walking toward the timeline that feels like home. Until next time on Perspective with Babe, trust your body, it knows the way. Thank you so much, Darlene.
Thank you, Viv.
My pleasure. Have a lovely day.
You too.